afternoon. This is WQ95AP, Choice 106.9 FM and 980 AM, WRNE, Gulfbreeze, Pensacola. We now join live Omar Neal with You Got the Power.
Well, welcome again to You Got the Power. I am your host, Omar Neal. You know, there are times when we call break glass moments in life. That's when there is such an emergency that you have to break the glass to sound the alarm. In buildings, we see them all the time, where it says, in case of emergency, break glass. Well, we are at that moment in Cincinnati, Hamilton County, Ohio. It's a break glass moment. I have had Judge Reverend Tracy Hunter on my show many times. You have heard of the story, but for those of you who haven't, let me kind of give you a recap. Judge Hunter, let me say, I love Judge Hunter. Judge Hunter is a friend of mine. So let me be very clear on that. But even if she were not a friend of mine, even if I didn't love Judge Hunter, I would see this as one of the greatest travesties of justice that I've ever witnessed in my lifetime. Judge Hunter was the first Democrat, the first African-American woman to be appointed to be elected to juvenile court judge in Hamilton County. It's a huge position because it brings with it the control of millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so she had to fight, even though she had won, because of the way that they had not fully counted all of the votes and the way that they had done things. She had to go to court, and much of her tenure was bound up in court. But she won the court case, and she became the first African-American, first Democratic judge of the Hamilton County Juvenile Court. All right, that was a monumental space. But because of that, I believe people decided that they were going to make her a target. And as a consequence of that, Judge Hunter, from that moment to this one, have been a target for the establishment in Hamilton County / Cincinnati. And I say Cincinnati because people know more about Cincinnati than they do Hamilton County, but it's in the same county. This is why I said it's a break glass moment. Right now, we're about 2 weeks out from Judge Hunter having to report to jail for an alleged, and I say alleged because based on the jurors that were there that said through affidavit that the verdict that was rendered was not their verdict, I still say alleged offense that she's going to jail for. Now, anybody else who would look at this case and see what kind of offense it was, they would say it's so trivial and so weak that it shouldn't even be going. Frivolous is what I was thinking. We shouldn't even be talking about a judge, the first African-American. Be clear on what I'm saying to everybody. This is the first African-American, the first Democratic judge in the entire history of Hamilton County. And so once she gets in that, she becomes a target. And so now what they want to do is they want to put this judge, this reverend, in jail. And so what I've done is I've called the team out. I've called all of the people out, and we got a lot of people on the show today because I want them to tell you what they think. I want you to know what I think. Let me tell you this, and let me be clear, and I want everybody to hear me. This is one of the greatest miscarriage of justice that I have ever witnessed. And for the Democratic Party, and I see I have Senator Thomas is here, for the Democratic Party, the National Democratic Party, and everybody who's running for office not to use their platform to speak to this miscarriage of justice, I think is abomination to their position. And so I'm glad to have everybody here. We have Dr. Vanessa Enoch. She's no stranger to the You Got the Power program. We have Senator Cecil Thomas, who's no stranger to the You Got the Power program. Victoria Strom, no stranger, as well as Kathy Tyler. And so I know about all of you all. I've already been told that I got a powerful show. And so welcome to the You Got the Power show, everybody.
Hello, Mayor Neal. Let me first of all tell you, you have a group of powerhouse warriors on this live stream today. Kathy Tyler and myself were both business owners, as well as Iris Rowley is a business owner. And Nicole Taylor, who is a warrior for the NAACP. She's also a union fighter. And then we have Senator Cecil Thomas. Victoria Strong, saw that she was on here. I guess she's on here as well. Yes, I see she is on here as well. She is also a warrior with Concerned Citizens for Justice. All of the individuals who are on here today are from the Coalition for a Just Hamilton County. And let me say thank you so much for having us all on. And
somehow I lost the audio for you, Dr. Enoch. I lost the audio for you. Let me see what I don't know what happened to your audio, but let me go to you, Senator Thomas. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. How are you?
Good, man. It's always good to see you. So certainly, it's not in these moments. You know, this is difficult for me. When I heard about what was happening, and how imminent this is, it just breaks my heart that Judge Hunter has to continue to go through this. But I know that there is a God, and that no weapon formed against her or us shall prosper. Let me go from your perspective, Senator. Tell us a little bit about where we are today. Vanessa, I hope that you can come back. I don't know what happened to you. Okay.
Well, let's go back and say this has been a struggle for power and control. Judge Hunter entered into an arena that had never been entered into before by an African American, by a Democrat, and it is the juvenile justice system here in Hamilton County. Becoming judge, she became the first judge in 105 or 110 years to ever hold that seat as an African American or a Democrat, for that matter. The sharing of that power then required her to be a part of that. That's where the rubber meets the road. And so they have done everything in their power to avoid sharing that power and control, because it involves millions of dollars. It involves the prison child, the
treasurer. We have one sitting right here.
Okay. Somebody has some. Okay, I'm hearing a new person come on. All right, go ahead, Senator.
Okay, it involves the control of millions of dollars. It involves the school to prison pipeline. It involves just an array of things that involve the quality of life of African American children in Hamilton County, as well as their destinies. Judge Hunter upset the apple cart. She began to implement methods by which children could be rehabilitated as opposed to the pipeline, if you will, and the herding of children through the system. And so she began to take on the entire system as a whole, and as a result, they had to stop her from doing that. She was not expected to win that election. She was not even endorsed by the Democratic Party. She ran in a primary and beat the Democratic choice by 70% in the primary, and then went on to win the election after a year and a half battle with the federal court, forcing votes to be counted that the Democratic, I should say the Board of Elections had decided they were not going to count. And there were 849 votes that they were going to dismiss that were provisional ballots. And after challenging the reason why they were not going to count those votes, Judge Hanna successfully in federal court determined that 274 of those votes had to be counted. Those votes were in predominantly strong Democratic African-American communities, precincts. And so when the judge ruled in her favor, they knew then, meaning the Republican Party, they knew that they had lost the race simply because they were separated by a very small number of votes. And that 200 plus votes allowed Judge Hanna to become the winner of that election.
Now, what people need to understand, Senator, is that Cincinnati / Hamilton County is a Republican stronghold.
It has been that way for a long time.
Right, and so for her to win was just extraordinary.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so at that point, they realized they had to get her out because they did not want her to establish some kind of footing, right, political footing that could create a tide of winning for Democrats, not just for her, but for future Democrats. Would that be correct?
Oh yeah. Oh, there's no doubt that she set a precedence that became an alarm in their eyes. Said, "Oh my God, we can't let this happen. We've allowed someone to slip through the door." So they had to try to close that door so that no other African Americans or Democrats in particular would even dare think that they could win, especially in the criminal justice system, which is a stronghold of political power in Hamilton County for the Republican Party. So by pushing her out, basically telling everyone else, don't you dare think you're going to come into this county and win a race and think we're just going to let you sit there and we're going to ignore you. They immediately began a process of how do we get her out of here?
So technically, she became the political sacrificial lamb.
Absolutely. This is exactly what she's going through now. I have to really applaud her though for not rolling over. And see, one of the methodologies that they use here in Hamilton County is, especially when it comes to someone that they don't want, someone that does not fit in the good old boy network, in particular African Americans, what they do is they throw a whole bunch of charges on you. And then they figure, well, they don't have the financial wherewithal to defend themselves with a serious legal team. So what they expect that person to do is come up with a plea deal. And that's what they were expecting the judge to do, was to plea bargain. They threw 10 felony charges on her. 10. None of them made any sense whatsoever. But they used the premise that we can indict a ham sandwich. So they went to the grand jury and clearly got her indicted on some very trumped up, ridiculous charges, and then said, now you either plead or we go to trial and we're going to send you to jail. And that's basically what but the judge refused to bend. She refused to give in to something that she did not do. And fortunately, the community got behind her, which is what they did not expect. And as a result, here we are 10 years, almost 10 years later, because it started in 2010. Here we are, still fighting this situation. And I do believe that the judge will prevail.
You know, one of the things I want to talk about, Senator, because this needs to be a national conversation. I mean, what has happened is that I think that people kind of look at, you know, this in an isolated situation. This is not an isolated situation. I want to talk with Kathy Tyler. Kathy, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. You know, this is extraordinary. Have you seen anything like this before?
I have never experienced anything like this, and was just absolutely shocked to see the reality that exists in our community. This has exposed a corrupt judicial system. It shows the brazen disregard for individual rights. Judge Hunter was convicted without evidence by a handpicked jury and judge with no evidence. It's been amazing to see the reality of what's happening in our community. And then also, it also shows the ability for the media to control when they are controlled by the Republican Party, to control our ability to even reach out in the nation and get help when something like this is going on. It's been sequestered right here to this community without us being able to get out and get help.
Right. You know, I would think, Nicole, help me out. I would think that the National Democratic Party and everybody would really rally around this, because this is really one of those watershed moments in terms of, you know, becoming a political prisoner. That's what Judge Hunter is. She's a political prisoner. This is a political hit job.
Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Nicole?
Yeah, you can speak. Can you hear me? Nicole, can you hear me? I guess not. Let me hopefully I can get Nicole to hear me a little later on. Dr. Enoch, help me out. This is a political hit job. That's what I see it as.
It's absolutely a political hit. And I think the effectiveness of that hit can be seen with the lack of outside support, because what they were able to accomplish here in Hamilton County is a smear job in the media, to the extent that when we tell somebody about what's happening here in Hamilton County, they cannot believe it.
Right.
Then they go out and they look at the news accounts and they see all of the horrible news media that's been put out there about Judge Hunter. And so, you know, I think it's important for your listeners to know, and people who see this case on the internet, to know that Channel 9, who is an integral part of this case, actually sued Judge Hunter, as did the only newspaper in town, because she refused to allow the media to publish the names and faces of juveniles, 12-year-old children who had gotten into some trouble. And for the first time, they had a policy against for years. And when Judge Hunter actually made the statement from the bench and ordered them not to show the names and faces, because the KKK had set up outside of these children's school, their junior high and elementary school, they sued her in order to be able to show the names and faces. And so as a result of that, there was a lot of dissension and venom between Judge Hunter and those media outlets. Those are the same media outlets that we rely on as a city to put any national stories out. And so as a result of that, that effective strategy completely, it annihilated any opportunity to get her story out on a national level. And it also caused people to believe a lot of the things that they were seeing in the media, because the same outlets were not publishing anything positive. the
let me ask you something, Dr. Enoch. What about just the facts? What because I've seen the information, right? What about just the facts, not positive or negative? What about just the facts? Isn't that, Senator, isn't that what the media is supposed to be doing, publishing the facts?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the media's role, is to present the facts and let the public decide.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like the media got a dog in the fight, right?
Well, they did have a dog in the fight simply because they were trying to force the judge to do what has been traditionally something that they did not do in Hamilton County, which was to show the names and faces, or print those names and faces of these kids. And when they sued her, she fought it, obviously, and that was their dog in the fight, and they prevailed. It's unconscionable to me and everybody else.
You can't do that anywhere in the country. I was director of the juvenile court for many years. You can't do that anywhere in the country.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And so for them to do that, one is a violation of everything we know is correct, right? In terms of juvenile law, right? So it was really not about that. That's a symptom, right?
No, it was all political.
So if we just use that as like a reasoning, that wasn't it. They wanted any reason to attack Judge Hunter,
Absolutely.
right? Absolutely. And they used that, right?
Right. When you got 3 appellate court judges who are supposed to look at all of the facts and then make a decision as to whether she violated the rules. Well, the appellate decision was so ambiguous. What Judge Hunter had said was, you can come in my courtroom, but you cannot print names and faces. Well, the appellate court said, well, let them back in your courtroom. So she let them back in. But when she said you still cannot print names and faces, the appellate court held her in contempt of court.
Yeah, people are looking at this, shaking their heads, Senator, wondering if you crazy or not, right? Because that doesn't make any sense, right?
Only in Hamilton County.
Right.
At the state level, the state folks up there, all of the other representatives of all the other counties, they say Hamilton County is on an island by itself.
It makes absolutely no sense. Let me see if I can bring Nicole. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I've been having some technical difficulties.
That's okay. You're with us now. Thank you so much.
I see that my name's got Dr. Vanessa Enoch.
You went to her link. I'm sorry. You should have gone back to your link. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for giving us an opportunity to share Honorable Judge Hunter's story. And giving it light, hopefully to get to a national platform, because the injustice that is happening against her and many like her, a lot of our Black leaders, is just egregious to the 5th degree. Mm-hmm. And everyone here, every organization, every person who cares about what's going on with her and our children here in Hamilton County is doing everything they can to support her, and also just to share the story so we can reverse what's going on. She faces jail time in a matter of weeks, and all things set aside, it's very real for her. She does not want to go to jail, and she shouldn't have to. She's an innocent woman, and just someone who had the audacity to run for office and try to be a change agent, and she was a trailblazer.
Yes.
And just the responsibility that she had, and to just with being the underdog and winning such a powerful seat, the white establishment here didn't really lost their mind. And so now you have a woman who's actually doing the work of the judge and looking at these cases, bringing families together from family courts that have been separated months, even years, when it relates to juveniles, instead of, being so punitive and locking away and throwing the key, which has been the model. Our county bounds over more youth into adult prison than any other county. She's actually taken her time and trying to transform these troubled youth and do what the juvenile courts are supposed to do, is rehabilitate and not have them go into adult prison. You know, so all those things matter. It matters to our community, but in a sense, when you have, you know, just see our children and just youth as just another number and just another body to fill these spaces. And so it's incredible, because it seems like what they were doing to these children, now they're letting her see firsthand of what it feels like when you try to disrupt the good old boy system. And so we're not going to just stand here and let that happen without a fight. And again, just we appreciate you for giving us an opportunity to share this with the country, share this with everyone, because we have to fight for people like Judge Hunter. We have to fight, and this is also incredible because, again, I'm Cincinnati NAACP. So at our last meeting, as there was many supporters of Judge Hunter, I had a floor of people saying, you know, as much as what's going on with her is harmful and hurtful, it's prosecutorial misconduct. They're feeling like they're getting railroaded by the system, and I'm hearing story after story, women who have been separated from their children for months, years, and they don't see a way to get their kids back. And we're dealing with a lot. So it's not just Judge Hunter, but it's just people being railroaded by our system here, and it's disgusting. And we need help.
You're absolutely correct. Let me go to you, Kathy. Help me out here. You know, for people to hear this for the first time and realize that the judge has gone through appellate processes, and that's now she's at a point where she's exhausted all of her appeals. One would have to say that in order for her to have validity in her position, then a conspiracy has to be in place. How do you convince people who really don't know about this that this is, in fact, a conspiracy to take down this judge?
I think one of the ways that would be revealing would be to investigate the jury that was used in this process. I remember that the jury consisted of persons connected to WCPO TV, and if one would look at the jury makeup, we would find that there was jury tampering. The judge would not allow the jury to be polled. There were so many egregious things that happened right out in the daytime, that if one would just investigate, it would show that there is absolutely a conspiracy. It is full of cronyism and nepotism from local all the way up to the state level.
So let me ask this, Dr. Enoch, come in and help me out with this. There were 3 jurors, I think, that said through affidavit that the only verdict they have was not what they thought it should be. Why wasn't that taken into consideration? I don't understand that. Look like that would be a case for another trial, if not mistrial.
You're absolutely right, Mayor, and it is part of the fight we've had here. Unfortunately, the individuals who have represented Judge Hunter have not had the opportunity really to fully tell her story. The case was so egregious, where there was 51 instances of misconduct on behalf of the prosecution. In addition to that, there was, of course, the tainted jury. Kathy mentioned one of the jurors was from WCPO. Well, actually, it was one of the reporters from WCPO. It was the attorney that represented WCPO. It was the wife of one of those attorneys on her jury. In addition, it was the best friend of one of the prosecutors, the best friend of one of the judges, a neighbor of another judge. It was the another friend of one of the individuals who worked in the court system, where he worked within the juvenile court system. He was the administrator there. It was also a treasurer from Hamilton County who was in the pool. It was the mother of one of the police officers in the case of the juveniles where the KKK showed up at the school. So it was so many different acts that were egregious, and so many of the power brokers were connected in this case that unfortunately, because of how it reaches all the way up to the Ohio Supreme Court, there were just too many issues to be able to even take on this fight. It's been a war. It really has, a political war. And so when you talk about the fact that the judge did not allow those voices of the only three African American jurors, you also have to consider the fact that there were 4 jurors who, even before the case started, before the trial started, who said they believed that she was guilty. And in any other universe, as opposed to the alternate reality that we're living in, that would have been a no-no to allow those individuals to sit on that jury. However, because of the peer judge that heard her case and all of the venom, the political venom involved in this case, things were able to happen that ordinarily in any other instance, in any other place, would not have happened.
Well, one of the things I want to talk about, Nicole, help me out here. This is the Democratic representative. This person represents the Democratic Party, right? And you would think that the Democratic Party would be all out in support of her. I don't see that. Am I incorrect for that? I don't see that kind of energy. And we'll talk to you about that too, Senator, because you are Democrat as well, you know. And,
Dr. O'Neill.
Dr. O'Neill. That the Democratic Party from all over would say, no, you will not do this, right? And I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a kind of passive resistance on this, the kind of, is that right? Am I wrong for that?
It's a lot of people, and this has been like 10 years, but there's been a lot of people that have seen this as political suicide. So there are people at the very top that won't touch it, and even you can say have blocked and to get national attention, and these national figures, seek these state leaders in the political forum to just make sure everything is what we say it is, and they tell them don't mess with it. And this, you have to understand that, and Judge Hunter said it the best. Basically, they are so invested in the lie at this point that to exonerate her or to let this go would then open the floodgates of so many people that they would have to come down. And so it's easier for one woman to go down than to let the whole house of individuals that is responsible for this take the fall. And so you're dealing with something political, and to a degree, there's a lot of people even on that's afraid to
get involved. Go ahead, Senator.
Yeah, let me chime in here. The judge won the election with close to 120,000 votes. Now, a lot of those votes were Republicans, they were white folks. In other words, it was broad. Her message resonated with a broad spectrum of people in Hamilton County. Now, as a result of her winning, the issue was simply the judge in Hamilton County. our media, a lot of those folks that voted for her, the white folks in particular, there's a radio station here. It's called 700 WLW. It's akin to the Rush Limbaughs and Sean Hannity's of the world. And this radio station reaches a broad spectrum of people. And they did a major hatchet job on Judge Hunter. They were saying she was not qualified for the job. She was over her head. They were saying she was crazy and all of these things. But they failed to mention the fact that Judge Hunter, within that short period of time that she was there, changed Ohio law.
A lot.
She changed significant laws based on her rulings that were challenged and appealed by the prosecutor's office, but the prosecutor's office did not prevail because Judge Hunter's legislation was correct in terms of the laws. Keep in mind, too, that for 105 years prior to Judge Hunter coming on that bench, shackling was the order of the day for these kids. They would come into the courtroom in some orange-colored jumpsuit with leg irons and a belt wrapped around their waist with handcuffs attached to that belt. This is how those kids were being brought before the judge. And the judge said, why are you bringing these kids in here like this? And she ordered no more shackling of those children in her courtroom. Now, the other judge in the same court would not allow that. He did not adhere to the order. He said, I'm going to keep on shackling them in my courtroom. Now, this ended up a few years later. The Ohio Supreme Court sent out a ruling that no longer will children be shackled and handcuffed unless you can have a hearing first to show why that child needs to be handcuffed. That was Judge Hunter's ruling that they took and made it Ohio law. So I say this to say that all of this was clearly a conspiracy. We did a breakdown of the jury. There's no way in the world that on a random selection process where a computer selects the pool of jurors, that you could have had that many people that had so many connections to other folks in that jury pool sitting on that.
It's statistically impossible, is what you're saying.
Statistically impossible.
Let me see if I can bring Victoria on. Victoria, I'm not seeing you, so we're just going to operate.
Can you hear me?
Audio. I can hear you fine.
Okay.
This is incredible. I mean, for those of us who are watching from the outside in, for us, this is unbelievable. This is some kind of movie. This doesn't make any sense to me. When I'm listening to Senator Thomas, right? I'm listening to Dr. Enoch. I'm listening to Nicole. I'm listening to everybody. Kathy, I'm saying you all either got to be crazy or you all got something so corrupt in Cincinnati that it's going to require the federal government, maybe even the United Nations, to come in to correct that. I mean, Victoria, am I wrong for seeing it like that?
Absolutely not. I think just to add to what everyone has said, one of the things I want to focus on, and I say this all the time, is focus a little bit on why she was targeted. It's not that she was just the first Black juvenile court judge, but what she was doing was revolutionary. She saw an issue. And as they mentioned before, when you have more of our Black youth bound over than any other county in the state of Ohio, and see, we don't even have a population that's larger than Cuyahoga County, right? This city population is smaller than the Cleveland population.
Right.
So something is wrong right there. One of the things that she noticed in addition to the shackling is that these children were not being represented properly. We found that the prosecutor's office was oftentimes bullying the attorneys that were defending the youth. They were not offering them any kind of psychological profiles that should have been done to see if the child even understands what they're going through or what the trouble is, to see if they understand what this process is, what's going on with them, how they get in trouble, what is their home life, what is their background. So she began to order these psychological evaluations, which is fair, because if you're going to look at intervening and rehabilitating, which was one of the things that she ran on, you have to have that in front of you. But oftentimes she found that they were in there with legal representation that never looked over their case. They weren't even given paperwork to show what the initial arrest was, how they even came into the system. And yet they had these young children coming through and basically pleading to whatever, not knowing anything, tearing families apart. And she said, no, this will not happen. And so if the prosecutor's office will not give you the information that that they need, she said, I will order it and they will turn it over to me. And well, that rubbed the prosecutor's office the wrong way as well. And so it was sort of like, well, who are you to come and disrupt this? What she was disrupting was that school to prison pipeline, that pipeline that softens our children up, that starts targeting them at the 4th grade level to become prisoners as adults. And that was what she was saying. No, this is not going to happen in my courtroom. So they began to put out rumors, well, she's taken too long. She's holding on to cases for too long. And the list just went on and on and on. But what I'm concerned about as well is not just the fact that she is facing jail time for something she did not do, but we're also at the time that they have removed her from the bench. Yes, she was very successful in passing, I believe it was 3 or 4 laws just in the short time she was there. But since she has been removed, you know, and I know that they are continuing down this reckless path of railroading our children. And so we are in a fight right now, and we are telling our city, we are demanding that every elected official, that you hold a seat and a steward of our city, that you are obligated to call Joe Deters, the Republican prosecutor, and demand that these charges be dropped and end this now. We are prepared in this city to go back to 2001 or 2002 when we called for a boycott or an economic pause. We are there right now. This city has all the markers of what we had prior to 2001. And that is not a good sign when you're looking at poverty levels in the Black community, when you're looking at infant mortality rates that mirror third world countries. That's happening in this city. This is a city where everybody who wants to become a president has to run through the city of Cincinnati. That's very telling about the oppression that goes on in this city. And so we are mad as hell, and we are prepared to step up our game and fight this thing. So that is our demand.
This is a break glass moment. Dr. Enoch, I'm going to go, and then I'm coming back to you, Senator Thomas. You know, the point of the matter is, you know, there has to be some strategy. We've protested, we've done things. You know, people know. I mean, particular people in the Hamilton County, Cincinnati area. This is not a new case. They know about this case. There's a level of kind of passivity, even on the part of Black leadership. You know, I mean, it should be the point that nothing moves in Cincinnati until something is done about this incident. That Cincinnati, I'm saying, you know, and I've been on the air for 28 years. There is very few times that I've said or made these kind of statements. But this is, you know, it comes to a point where a threat to justice to anyone is a threat to justice to everyone, right? And that Dr. Enoch, you've looked at this case. I think you did your dissertation, something similar, on this case. You know more about this case than anybody else. You know the many egregious acts that have taken place. What can we do from the national perspective? Because you're talking to a national audience now. You know, what can we do to assist you all in what you're doing? And one is, I want to applaud each and every one of you for how you articulated the issue, your passion, and your stick-to-itiveness. I appreciate you. Dr. Enoch, what can we do?
Okay, so there are a number of things that people on the outside can do. The first thing that individuals can do is to, number one, get informed. There is a website, TracyHunterLegalDefenseFunds.org, and .com, and it is TRACIE Hunter Legal Defense Funds. You can go out and get more information about the case. That is a place where you can also donate to this case. It is a very expensive fight for Judge Hunter. And as well, there is a change.org petition that the NAACP put out. And Nicole Taylor from the NAACP can tell us more information about how we can access that petition. But we need people as well to put pressure on this establishment to do the right thing. We need national media attention. We've gotten some national media attention here over the past week or so from Black media. And so we need to expand that. We need to be able to engage CNN and MSNBC and all of those other outlets to take on this case so that we can bring light to what's happening here in Hamilton County. And if Nicole Taylor can tell us how to access that change.org petition, that would be awesome as well.
Yes, you can go to change.org and just type in dismiss the charge against Judge Tracy Hunter, or you can just type in Tracy Hunter in a search.
And also,
and it should probably 1,000 signatures right now. We will hope to be in the tens of thousands, before this court date, which is July the 22nd. And this is going to go straight to the judge that she goes before, which ironically ran over a woman, an African-American woman here in Cincinnati, and didn't see the light of day of any courtroom because he received judicial immunity, which she should have received judicial immunity for the charges placed against her, which 9 of the charges was dismissed because they found out about computer tampering, which would have further exonerated her. And it's just funny because there is a process for judges when they're accused or if there's any inappropriate actions taken. But the judge she actually goes before ran over a woman, and you can barely find it on the internet.
Wow. I think that Nicole, thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, the point of the matter is, there's a whole lot of stuff going on that needs to be exposed. What happens is that what has happened, and Senator, I want you to help me out with this, and we're going to come back to everybody as well. Senator, the reason why much of this has persisted is that you all have been fighting, and there are people who are getting weary and well-doing in Cincinnati. You got it? And so you all are going to need the cavalry, and I don't like to use analogies from the Civil War, but you are going to need the cavalry to come in, the national media, the national Black, and I'm going to say this, African-American community has to come to your aid. This is the time. I'm saying this is a break glass moment. I've been on the air for 28 years. I have not used that term in 28 years. This is a break glass moment for the Black community to come to the aid of Judge Tracy Hunter in Hamilton County, Cincinnati, Ohio. That's what I'm saying. All right, Senator, go ahead.
And to follow up on exactly what you're saying, you're absolutely correct. It would be, for those out there in the national limelight that is listening to this, if you have any connections with our celebrities, not just Black celebrities, even white celebrities that you may have a connection with that you can share this story with and ask them to come on board, to get involved in any way they can deem necessary to put pressure on this community here in Hamilton County of this injustice. Because we've said here in Hamilton County, if they're allowed to get away with this against a judge, can you imagine what they're doing to all the young men, whether they're juveniles or adults that are coming before their system? Hamilton County is notorious for sending young African Americans to the penitentiary. We send more individuals to the penitentiary than any county in the state of Ohio, young African Americans. Juvenile justice system 80+% of the kids that go through the juvenile justice system in Hamilton County are African-American children. I was shocked when I asked Judge Hunter, how many white kids have come before you since you've been on the bench? And she said you can count them on both our hands. And she was down there for a significant amount of time, over a year plus. But so my point is that we are up against a stronghold, a system of injustice here in Hamilton County. And I want to throw one more thing in, Mayor. We talked about the provisional ballots. They have been throwing away provisional ballots all over this country because no one took the time to say, well, wait a minute, why are you throwing these ballots away? And I'm going to challenge these ballots. And a lot of African Americans are probably not getting elected, especially if it's a very close race, because they have systematically found a way to prevent that by throwing away a number of those provisional ballots.
You know, I know this, and you know, I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk politics now, because this is a political hit job. Okay, now obviously there's racial undertones, and there's some other things in terms of the school to prison pipeline, and we talked about it before. Dr. Enoch, come with me a second. Talk about the amount of money that the judge controls in the juvenile court in Hamilton County. Just speak a little bit about that. Then I want to go to Nicole for a second, but I want you to speak from that perspective. You need to cut on you got your mic muted. Okay.
So the judge, her position was the second largest budget in Hamilton County, next to the sheriff's budget. She controlled a $30 million budget. However, when you think about the judge's total impact, and there being 1,400 kids from Hamilton County, 92% of those kids were African American, that's another $300 million that she was impacting with just those 1,400 kids in the incarceration system alone. But her just the juvenile justice system, whereas foster care system and you know, various other systems interlock, and they also come under her dominion. And so she has the potential to impact a lot of money. And you know, you can just tell by how much they spent her off the bench, the magnitude, the size of her impact. They spent probably well over $7 million at this point to keep her off the bench. So if you can imagine, and the dollar impact per child is even more alarming. We're talking about $220,000 per child in the juvenile court system. Just to house them in that system, what the system's making off of each and every African American child. Most of them are boys. 97% of those are boys. And so she is definitely impacting a system that has made money off of the heads of African American children for many, many years. And they were not willing to allow that system to be disrupted. And so they were willing to spend millions of dollars just to ensure that she wasn't able to stop what they've been doing for so many years.
Kathy, when they have a movie out, When They See Us, just came out. This is an attack on Black people. Now, Nicole, I want you to help me after I talk with Kathy on this one. Mm-hmm. You know, there is a conspicuous absence of a really push from the our organizations. Right, you with the NAACP, Nicole. All right, so I'm not going to be critical of the whole, but I will of individuals who are doing things. But I don't see the pushback on the part of true civil rights organizations about the injustices that exist, particularly with something that's what's happening with Judge Hunter. So I want to start with you first. And then I'll go to you, Nicole. Okay. All right, Kathy.
Well, I would say that our community leaders must be empowered to speak without fear. People are terrified at seeing the things that have happened to Judge Hunter. And so I think fear is a great aspect of this. And then our community needs to come together. You see issues where we are not working together. We need to come together to support Judge Hunter, not think about how we personally benefit, but come together as a whole so that our community can stand behind her. Judge Hunter needs unbiased legal representation. There's some things that need to be talked about that that has not been, but that is also contributing to Judge Hunter being in this situation for so long. And so you're absolutely right. Our community needs to come together. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
Well, you know, God does not give you the spirit of fear.
Amen.
So if you got spiritual leaders that are afraid, they are working antithetically to their calling, right? So let me just say that, okay? And the other thing is power succeeds nothing without a demand. It never has and never will. Frederick Douglass said that, right? And so there is nothing, you know, so when people are scared, we don't need to be scared. We don't need scared leaders because they get you killed, right? So if you're going to be a leader, you don't need to be scared. And if you're scared, you need to just go sit on the porch, you know, if you can't run with the big dogs. Let me go back to Nicole. Nicole, help me out here with organizations because we got just a few minutes. How can we get organizations to truly organize? I know it's an oxymoron to say that organizations are not organized.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, like the NAACP, one of the great things about it is the ability to reach out to the many branches. We have many branches in the state of Ohio, and we've already reached out to our state president, who is familiar with he advocated on his own to, organize to get letters sent to the judge.
What about the national level? I mean, I understand state level and local level, but I'm talking about the national NAACP. Have you been able to garner their support as of yet, at least to bring national attention to this?
Yeah, well, like I said, this has been 10 years. We actually had the national convention here in Cincinnati. And so when they came, we literally put Judge Hunter in front of the president at the time, which was William Cornell Brooks, and had him talk with her along with the Justice Chair. We also submitted her information to the Legal Defense Fund, attention to Sherilyn Ifill. And we learned from there that they only handle cases that are more cases. And so, we made our attempts there.
Nicole, they have a platform. So whether or not they handle the case or not, they certainly can bring attention to it. They have a platform. We only have a couple of minutes left. Senator, we got all of these people that's running for president, right, in the Democratic Party, right? The point of the matter is, if you don't win Ohio, you cannot be the president. What are you doing to hold them accountable and to have them make a stand before they can get black votes, and not just black votes in Ohio? If you can't help Judge Tracy Hunter, don't ask me for my vote in Alabama. Okay, continue.
And that has been our problem as a people. We don't hold these candidates accountable for us. We kind of get mixed in with the status quo, and before you know it, we say, well, he sounds real good, so Massa said vote for him, I'm gonna vote for him. So you're absolutely correct, and we definitely are going to be focused on holding the candidates that come to our area accountable. In fact, if the national folks that are listening out there, they need to be into the ears of these candidates now. If you want to win Ohio, you better come in and get involved in what's going on with Judge Hunter.
And not afterwards, because a lot of times they'll come on afterwards and say, well, I'm here now. No. We need you before something happens. We need you before the 22nd, not after the 22nd, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So what we're doing, I'm so glad that you all have come on. I know that my time is up, but I could talk about this for the next year because it's that important to me. To all of you who are in this fight, you are not in this fight alone. I want you to know that. I want you to know that we appreciate what you're doing and that we're in this fight and that the You Got the Power show is your show. And anytime you need me for anything, I'm a phone call away. The other thing is, too, I want you all to keep me posted so we can kind of do some updating of what's happening with Judge Hunter. What we have to do is we got to come up with some kind of countdown action, some action plan that speaks of the sense of urgency. Because if not, people will just continue to do what they've been doing, right? And so we need some kind of countdown, some kind of something visual to say that this is the countdown, what we're going to do. And that needs to be dramatic. It does not need to be pity-patty. At this point, people need to become uncomfortable with the things that they are doing, because we have made them comfortable in the things that should be uncomfortable for them through our passivity, or at least through our complicity in what it is we're doing. So I'm saying to you, time out. This is break glass moment for Judge Tracy Hunter. We love her. Judge Tracy Hunter should not spend 1 second in a jail, certainly for what she's been accused of, obviously, and wrongfully convicted of, in my opinion. So what we are doing is we've talked about this. We're going to have to move off the scene because we have now 2 minutes past. But thank you all, each of you, for being a part of the You Got the Power program. We're going to continue this.
Thank you, Mayor O'Neil.
Later on. All right. Let me say this for those of you who are supporting the program. You can send your checks and money orders in care of You Got the Power at P.O. Box 146, Tuskegee, Alabama. P.O. Box 146, Tuskegee, Alabama 36087. Don't forget about our Cash App and PayPal that you can support us on Facebook Live. As always, I like to leave you with these 2 words. Remember that I love you with a perfect love. But more importantly, remember this. You got the power. We'll see you next week, same time, same station. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.